Hi everyone, I'm glad to see you back. Oh, there is a problem with that. I can't see you. Okay, let me rephrase that. I'm glad that you're back. That's better. Now, anyway, I've decided that I won't be doing the usuals this time. What usuals you ask? Arey same yaar. Asking you to like, to share, to comment, and to subscribe to this channel. I won't do that. I won't tell you to do that. No, never. I won't do that. Hope you have done it. Anyways. Okay, so let's continue with the read along of chapter 1 electric charges and fields. It's me, Fawaz Shafi Mahmood, your very own physics man. Let's start. Okay, so in the last video we had introduced what is frictional electricity and static electricity. We learned that when electrons gain enough energy, it jumps from one surface to the other. Now what I forgot to mention in that video is that energy is called work function. You will learn more about this in modern physics and all. Anyway, let's continue with the video. In this video we're going to learn about the electric charges. Historically, the credit of discovery of the fact that amber rubbed with wool or silk cloth attracts light objects goes to Thales of Miletus, Greece, around 600 BC. The name electricity is coined from the Greek word electron, meaning amber. Now, many such pairs of materials were known which on rubbing could attract light objects like straw, pith balls and bits of paper. Now, what we understand from this is that we learned in the previous video that when you rub two insulating material, then the electron jumps from one to the other. Okay, now when such charged body is brought near some small pieces of paper or maybe pieces of pith balls. Pith balls are like a thermocol or polystyrene foam that you get, that kind of thing. And straw, you know, the one you use to drink juice. Anyway, so when you bring this near the small pieces of paper or anything, they get attracted. So I'll just show you how with a figure. Let's draw it over here. So let's say this is a charged, so let's say this is a rod and it is assumed to be positively charged. You will learn later on that when glass rod is rubbed against silk or wool, actually the silk gets negatively charged and the glass rod gets positively charged. It's because electrons jump from glass rod onto the silk. Okay, so now this is the glass rod that we were talking about. Now let's draw the bits of paper. Even though the bits of paper will be very small, I will exaggerate it and I'll show an enlarged figure. So let's say this is bits of paper, a bit of paper, and now what will happen is the positive charge, you will learn later on that like charges repel each other and unlike charges they attract each other. So these are positively charged. So what will it attract? Will it attract the protons or the electrons? Yes, it will attract electrons because positive attracts negative and electrons are negatively charged. So negative charges are present on this piece of paper. Electrons are present on this piece of paper. They will be attracted. They want to jump onto the glass rod, but they don't have enough energy to cross the boundary. So they will accumulate here. I'll change the color of the marker. Okay, so electrons are attracted to this end and they accumulate here. These are negatively charged particles, electrons. Now what will happen? They are coming from the right end. So there it will be positively charged. So this end, positive charges will be accumulating. Okay, now what will happen? Positive will attract the negative, so this will go and stick to the glass rod. But some of you may argue, because this is also positively charged, won't they attract? Yes, they will. Won't they repel? So this positive will repel this positive, but that force of repulsion will be lesser compared to the attraction because they are further apart, they are further away. So the repulsion will be less compared to the attraction, and so the bits of paper will be attracted and they will stick onto the glass rod. I hope it is clear. Now you can perform the following activity at home to experience such an effect. Cut out long thin strips of white paper and lightly iron them. Take them near a TV screen or computer monitor you will see that the strips get attracted to the screen. In fact, they remain stuck to the screen for a while. Okay, now here the piece of paper, it is getting charged. How? Two things. One is due to the friction of the iron box. Another thing is due to friction there will be heat generated, but that heat is very small compared to the heat actually provided by the iron box. Iron box is hot, it will provide heat energy, and it will get the iron electrons will get enough energy to jump. Okay, so this is also called by the name thermionic emission. You will learn more about this in modern physics. Okay, now that's why it gets charged, and when you bring it near the TV screen or the computer monitor, it gets stuck. Now let's read on. It was observed that if two glass rods rubbed with wool or silk cloth are brought close to each other, they repel each other. So we understand that glass rod will attain, let's say, A charge, and silk cloth or woolen clothes will attain B charge. We later on know that glass attains positive charge and wool attains negative charge. Okay, now since the same charges, glass rods have same charge, they will repel each other. So from this itself we understand one thing: like charges repel. We will read that in the coming section. So we understand that like charges repel each other. Okay, another thing, they repel each other. The two strands of wool or two pieces of silk cloth with which the rods have been rubbed, they also repel each other. Obviously the silk cloth has the B charge and they will repel each other. That means like charges repel. Again, second proof. Now, however, the glass rod and the wool attracted each other. So glass rod and wool attracted each other. We know that the glass rod and the wool has attained opposite charges, either positive, one positive and the other one negative. So they are attracting each other. What does that mean? Unlike charges attract each other. So that's the proof for unlike charges attract each other. Similarly, two plastic rods rubbed with cat's fur repelled each other. Obviously, because cat's furs, they have attained same kind of charge, so they will repel each other. It was obvious. But attracted the fur. Obvious, because plastic attains one charge and the other kind of charge is present on the fur, so they will attract each other. Very good. On the other hand, the plastic rod attracts the glass rod. This is the important point. So now we'll make a team. Okay, this is glass from first experiment. Glass attained, this is A charge, team A, and here you have team B. Team B is silk and wool. So silk and wool are in the opposite team. But here you understand that plastic rod attracts the glass rod. What does that indicate? Plastic attracts glass rod. It is a clear indication that they have attained opposite charges. That means plastic is in this team. Plastic will be in B team because they are attracting each other. And again, and repels the silk or wool. Obviously, because they are in the same team, they will repel each other. Like charges repel. With which the glass rod is rubbed. The glass rod repels the fur. Again, that's a clear indication that glass rod and fur has attained the same kind of charge. So glass rod and fur will be in the same team. Okay. Now let's continue. If a plastic rod rubbed with fur is made to touch two pith balls, nowadays we use polystyrene balls, suspended by silk or nylon thread. Now why is it suspended by silk or nylon thread? So that it does not conduct charge. Silk and nylon are non-conducting material. Then the balls repel each other. Okay, now this is what we see here. Okay, we have already seen that glass rod repels glass and plastic repels plastic and glass attracts plastic. We already mentioned that. Now this is what they are talking about, the pith balls. Now this pith ball has been touched with plastic, so I am writing it P over here. So it will be negatively charged. Both the pith balls get the charge of the plastic rod. So when both are negative, obviously they will repel each other. That's what is shown here. They are repelling each other. They are repelling each other. Now the second case, we'll read on. Here you can see A similar effect is found if the pith balls are touched with a glass rod rubbed against silk. So glass rod which has attained the charge A, that is positive. So the positive charge from the glass rod is equally shared with the pith balls. So both get positively charged, and positive repels positive. So that's what we can see, they are repelling each other, as in the case of first experiment. Done. Now read on. A dramatic observation is that a pith ball touched with a glass rod which has attained positive charge attracts another pith ball touched with plastic rod. It was also understood, right? Because this is the one which has been touched with plastic rod, and this is the one which has been touched with glass rod. They are oppositely charged, so they will attract each other. They will attract each other. They will attract each other. Okay. Now let's continue. These seemingly simple facts, yeah, we were saying these are very simple things. So these seemingly simple facts were established from years of efforts and careful experiments and their analysis. It was conducted after many careful, it was concluded after many careful studies by different scientists, and that there were only two kinds of an entity, which is called the electric charges. Since we already know that they are positive and negative, we have been hearing that, so we know that. But when they were discovered, it was confusing. Like they could be A charge, B charge, C charge, D charge. But finally they concluded that there are only A charge and B charge, and they named them as positive and negative. That's the name they were given. Now, we say that the bodies like glass or plastic rods, silk, fur and pith balls are electrified. So when they acquire charge, we call them electrified. We say electrification and all. So it's acquiring of charges. They acquire an electric charge on rubbing. We have already seen in 2 videos. The experiments on pith balls suggested that there are 2 kinds of electrification, and we find that like charges repel and unlike charges attract. These are important points. This is also called law of electrostatics, fundamental law of electrostatics. Okay. The experiments also demonstrated that the charges are transferred from the rods to the pith balls on contact. We saw that when plastic rod was touched with the pith balls, they repelled because the charge was transferred. The property which differentiates the 2 kinds of charge is called the polarity of the charge. That means positive and negative. We gave them 2 names. This is actually the polarity of the charge. Positive polarity and the negative polarity. When a glass rod is rubbed with the silk, the rod acquires one kind of charge and the silk acquires the second kind of charge. This is true for any pair of objects that are rubbed to be electrified. But now if the electrified glass rod is brought in contact with the silk with which it was rubbed, they no longer attract each other. Very good observation. Now they also do not attract or repel other light objects as they did on being electrified. So what do you understand from this? They have ceased to be electrified. Now what happened here is, you can understand with this with a very good example. Suppose there was a ship. Have you seen pirates? Okay. Now there is a ship of police, and there is a jail in that. There is a captive. So a pirate's ship comes, they attack the police ship and they take away their friend. So this is what is happening when the electrons jump from the glass rod onto the silk. I'll show you with an example. Let's say this is glass rod and you are rubbing it with the silk. So what will happen? The electron from this will jump to the silk. Electron from this glass rod will jump to the silk. So this is the police ship and this is the pirate ship. So the captive has been taken by the pirate ship. Okay, but now the police ship chases it and gets the captive back. When it comes into contact, what will happen? They'll take away the captive back. So that's what is happening here. The glass rod which lost an electron, it has a revenge. So when it gets a chance to meet with the silk cloth, it will take away the silk electron back. So what will happen? The positive charged glass rod will cease to be positively charged because it has got its electron back. So it will become neutral. So that's what we see here. That the charges acquired after rubbing are lost when the charged bodies are brought in contact. What can you conclude from these observations? It just tells us that unlike charges acquired by the objects neutralize or nullify each other's effect. Therefore, the charges were named as positive and negative charges, negative by American scientist Benjamin Franklin. We know that when we add a positive number to a negative number of same magnitude, the sum is 0. Plus 5 and minus 5. You add them, you will get 0. So that's why you saw that they neutralize. So Benjamin Franklin might have thought, yes, why not we give it positive and negative? That's the logic. Anyway, but this is, everyone will agree that this was a fallacy from his part, because of such a convention that, let's read on. This might have been the philosophy in naming the charges as positive and negative. By convention, the charge on glass rod or cat's fur is called positive. This was a mistake from his part. The contribution was good, but this naming, it caused a little difficulty. I'll talk about that. Now, they were called positive, and that on the plastic rod or the silk is termed as negative. Okay. If an object possesses an electric charge, it is said to be electrified or charged. When it has no charge, it is said to be neutral. Okay. Now, why did I tell you that it is a fallacy from his part? Because in chapter number 3, current electricity, you will learn that electrons are actually responsible for current, electric current. But since electron has been given the name negative charge, when we talk about positive current, we have to assume the opposite direction. So it's always a difficulty. Actual contribution is due to the electrons. We will teach in the beginning, electrons are going in this way. This is actually the responsible, this is responsible for the electric current. Then we'll say the current direction is the opposite. So we have to think about that. We have to imagine like that. And usually students get confused. It's all because of this naming. If he had named the charge on glass rod as negative and the charge on silk as positive, we would have said a positive electron has jumped to the silk. So positive electron, so direction of current and electron would have been same when we talk about electric current. Anyway, that's all for now. I know this has been a bit lengthy. Thank you for watching the entire video. And until we meet again, it's goodbye. Happy physicsing.